is pro wrestling news and results at Rants, baby! Locked and loaded, signed, sealed, and delivered. It's another one of those wrestling rants. Richard with you from the Wrestling Rants Control Center. And it's rolling back from the weekend with a little laying the rant down full of industry news. And I'm actually glad that I decided to wait until today, Monday, to drop this because there's some interesting news which we're going to be talking on the outset of this laying the rant down in the industry news. So let's get into it in a moment. Want to give a quick rundown of what to expect this week on Wrestling Rants. Just like laying down the schedule here for y'all. Later tonight, we got a Mega Rant Monday. We're going to be covering not one, not two, but three. The first three, as a matter of fact, events of the Best of Super Juniors 30 tournament over in Japan by New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is the best cruiserweight action you're going to see all year in a round-robin format similar to the G1 Climax. Like I said, the first three shows have concluded, and lots of things to talk about with this event. So come on back later on for Mega Rant Monday as we break down Best of Super Juniors 30 in all its glory with lots of details on these events. It will be running until the 28th of May, so this is going to be a subject I'll probably fall back on and talk about in later rants as well, as it's just kicking off, and this is quite the momentous tournament so far. Tuesday, we got top 10 takes. We're going to be looking back at the top 10 matches in Double or Nothing history as we get closer and closer to that big event in Las Vegas, which I will be at. That will be the next Wrestling Rants road trip. We will be dropping content from that show, possibly on a delayed basis, because I do not want any copyright strikes this time around. Last year when I went to Double or Nothing, I got hammered by Fight TV with tons of copyright strikes. There also will be a lot of other shows that we're going to Las Vegas in and around Double or Nothing weekend, including GCW, FSW, GCW versus FSW, and some other independent companies. So be on the lookout for that coming up soon. Probably a week from Thursday is the plan for me to head out there. I'm hoping to check out Dynamite as well on that Wednesday, but it's kind of tentative right now because of some work responsibilities I got going on. So, rolling back into the schedule of the week, Wednesday we got not the usual mid-week must-see matches, but we're going to have the mid-month must-see matches, all of the best matches so far in the month of May from all the promotions. We're going to be talking about it on a day-to-day basis, breaking down the month of May, so you can check out, reference all those matches, and try to dig in your own ways to find all these matches on the internet, etc. Then on Thursday, we have a double dose of retrospective, looking back at Double or Nothing 2019 and 2022, which I was at both live. So those will be live event perspective rants on both of those events. Then Friday, we got Versus, Ring of Honor, and Impact once again in the head-to-head battle. Then we roll back to the weekend once again with laying the rant down, just like this rant here. So there's a quick look at all of the stuff coming up this week on Wrestling Rants. Let's get into the news of the moment right here at Laying the Rant Down. First and foremost, let's talk about something that kind of came down today, surprisingly. There's a lot of news this week in the industry because all of the networks are doing what they call upfronts, which is basically a showcase of their upcoming programming for the rest of the year. This typically is a showcase for networks to show particularly their fall schedules and what's on tap for the fall. Interesting to note, NBC Universal did their upfronts today, and there was just one little bitty singular mention of WWE and all these upfronts, and it was very brief. It came during a video package on the Peacock channel where they just kind of blasted a little bit of WWE footage in there. But other than that, there was no talk of WWE involvement upcoming. Why is that? Well, perhaps it's because the deal with NXT and Raw on the USA Network both technically expire by the end of this year. NXT deal is actually expiring in September. There's no indication if that is going to be renewed or not. Because of the low numbers, I would be shocked if maybe it is renewed. I'm not convinced NXT is going to get another run on the USA Network. The numbers just have not really been that impressive. It may be good enough for the USA Network. It's hard to say. Time will tell. So that's one issue ahead here, is that NBC Universal is not really promoting because they have not made this deal with WWE yet for renewal. Monday Night Raw actually expires at the end of this year as well. So sometime in the foreseeing future, WWE has got to figure something out with their properties on NBC Universal. One other thing to note with this deal is the Peacock deal is actually separate, and that is not up until January of 2026, which means that we're going to be seeing pay-per-views, live events, and WWE content continuing on NBC Universal. This will be very interesting if, say, WWE makes a deal with a different network. I wonder how that's going to work with dropping it on the Peacock network in a delayed format. I think Raw and SmackDown usually drops on there in like a week or two after. I think NXT is pretty soon after it airs on USA. But all these variables making it for a very, I would call it a unorthodox situation as we move forward with NBC Universal and WWE. On top of this, there was another upfront today, and that was the Fox network. And they talked about, again, upcoming series. They dropped their kind of usual schedule for in the fall. And conspicuous, once again, there was zero mention from Fox on SmackDown on Friday night, even though SmackDown is still on schedule to be running on this contract. It was a 5-year contract with Fox. That contract expires October 2024. It's very weird that Fox didn't mention anything about SmackDown on their upfronts. Just super weird. So keep an eye on this stuff. I don't think this is a guarantee that either of these deals are going to be renewed, either on Fox or NBC Universal, separate for Raw and for NXT. Particularly, I think NXT is maybe going to be on their way out in September on network coverage. We'll see. If that is the case, they're probably going to be Peacock exclusive once again. We'll see where they go with it. On the other hand, another upfront is coming, and that is the Warner Brothers Discovery upfront this coming Wednesday. And all indications, according to the industry rumors, is that not only is AEW going to be renewing their deal with Warner Brothers Discovery for a much more lucrative deal, but this will also be where they drop the information on the Saturday night show Collision, debuting on TNT on June 17th. We have also gotten leaked the official, I guess, slogan or show running title for that first episode of Collision. It's going to be called The Second Coming. This is obviously in reference to the return of CM Punk, who will be returning to that show at the United Center on June 17th for that first edition of AEW Collision. I plan on being to that show as well, just giving you a heads up on that. I'm going to make the trip to Chicago for that, absolutely. No question about it. As far as the new deal goes, rumors are quite attractive to the AEW brand. There's a rumor of a 4 or 5 year deal at $1 billion, folks. We'll see if this is true or not, and if this really happens. Time will tell. We'll find out on Wednesday when these upfronts for Warner Brothers Discovery happens. But that is the latest rumor 4 or 5 years at $1 billion. That would put each year's deal at approximately $200 to $250 million. And holy shit, that is a game changer for All Elite Wrestling. The upfronts will occur at the Hulu Theater, adjacent from, ironically, WWE's hotbed of Madison Square Garden. It's very interesting. The original AEW deal expires technically in September of 2024. The last year of that deal was an option where Warner Brothers could pick it up and run with it or negotiate a new deal, and that's what seems to be happening here. So the other aspect of it is, what are the streaming options going to be with this Warner Brothers Discovery deal? It's very possible all AEW content could drop on the new revamped HBO Max streaming package, which has going to be having a Discovery Channel involved in it. And I hope that AEW joins this family on Max, because I would love to see all the old pay-per-views archived, similar to what WWE Network does on Peacock. I think this would be a perfect pairing for All Elite Wrestling to finally get some of their old content and archive Dynamites and Rampages. I'm all in. I've been meaning to catch up on some of these pay-per-views from back in the day, just to revisit some of them. It's very hard to find them online, by the way. Really, the only way to do it is getting a physical DVD copy or trying to order it through, like, Bleacher Report. I don't even know if they have, like, really old pay-per-views still available, but, having to pay a price tag for a pay-per-view from 2 or 3 years back is not the most ideal situation. Probably not a really big money-making endeavor for them as well. So it makes all the sense in the world that All Elite Wrestling content may be soon to be added to the HBO Max lineup, potentially in the fall. With that goes our next topic subject here, and that is a little update on All In. Before we get into the numbers of All In so far, let's roll back and let's talk about the potential that All In may get broadcast on the HBO Max platform, and or potentially could be archived on HBO Max after it originally airs on either TBS or TNT, or maybe both. That would be a huge get if it aired on both TBS and TNT at the same time, simulcast, live from London. Oh, that would be a great get. I think that would be the best option for AEW. It seems all but official that All In is not going to be a pay-per-view, so that leaves these two options of either being on TBS or TNT, or both, or on the Max platform, if that is the direction the company is going to go. So lots of variables with this whole situation. This also might be announced at the upfronts on Wednesday, that All In is exclusive on either one of the TBS, TNT channels, or on Max, or maybe all of them. Who knows? Now, with that said, let's talk about some updates on the numbers for All In. We've talked about this many times on Laying the Rant Down. Here is the latest. 65,854 sold tickets. This was as of the weekend, courtesy of Wrestling Observer. That puts the gate somewhere between maybe 7.7 million to 8 million, maybe a little bit more. Wow. Less than 1,000 tickets are on the secondary market. That's also impressive. Let's talk about the benchmarks that they still got to hit to break some further pro wrestling records. There's 3 main ones here. First and foremost, WrestleMania 3's number, it was officially, I got this information, looked it up, 75,708. So All In has a little bit of ways, actually quite a bit, a good 10,000 more to get to that number. That'd be impressive enough if they can get to that number. Then they have another number that they could potentially get at, and that's SummerSlam's 92 official paid number of 78,927. That is, of course, from Wembley Stadium, so same arena here, same stadium. If they get to that, they're going to break the Wembley all-time I believe, gate or a number of people in Wembley Stadium if that happens. There was a boxing event, I think, possibly, maybe somewhere in a high level of numbers on that too, so it may not beat that. We just have to stick it back as the all-time best pro wrestling gate in that stadium, beating SummerSlam 92. If they can get to 78,927. And then the big number, which, I mean, frankly, if they beat SummerSlam's number, if they get enough people at this point of, beating a 78,927 number, WrestleMania 32 in Dallas is not that far away from that number of 79,800. So time will tell. No matches have been announced as of yet, of course, so there is a possibility it could jump up some more. Guess time will tell. Right now the setup is for 74,000. If they sell near or around that at some point, they will change things up and try to find more seats to add. Those seats may be more obstructed view kind of seats. But if you get another 5,000 on top of 74,000, right there, you're pretty much closing in on the all-time modern era pro wrestling gate for a number of people in a given event. Also, just one other little point to note about All In. 6 p.m. London start time. That would put things at 1 p.m. Eastern in the States, 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. on the West Coast. Just a little FYI on that information there. All right, what we got next here? We have our next subject. If I can get the little remote going here. What in the hell? Here we go. MLW news. Poor MLW, man. They have been screwed over royally, I think, by WWE processes. There's a lawsuit going on, as we all know, with MLW and WWE. With that said, MLW's run on the REELZ channel ended early in May, just with really no fanfare, no real big announcement or anything. The last edition of MLW Underground, which I still have to catch up on these shows, by the way. Planning on doing that sometime soon here. But they just called it a season finale. So we'll see what happens with the MLW Underground property. But as of now, it's pretty much done. And now MLW is working towards getting Fusion back as their main Juggernaut weekly episode, which will start dropping exclusively on YouTube and beIN Sports on May 26th. So we'll see what kind of future MLW holds. I'm a little bit concerned on the lack of momentum on MLW's part. And I'm a big fan of their product. I just wish I could see them do much more than they're doing right now, unfortunately. All right, a few other rumors coming up here. I guess we'll talk about this one first. I skipped over the other one, but Bray Wyatt is internally not listed on WWE's roster. There's some conjecture that he's severely injured. There's some conjecture that Vince McMahon is at odds with the re-signing of Bray Wyatt, and maybe he wants him out, and he doesn't. I don't know. There's just a lot of mystery going on with this whole situation. So keep your eyes peeled. But as of now, Bray roster is not even listed internally on WWE's roster. So what that means is anybody's guess. Your guess is as good as mine, that's for sure. Let's get back to the final news bit here. Rumors are that Bill Goldberg wants to do one last big retirement match or one big last retirement tour. He's been even quoted as wanting to do this, maybe a run of shows. Apparently, Rick Bassman, some of you may know if you know the business, ran UPW and helped train a variety of wrestlers. Cena, Samoa Joe. There's a ton of different wrestlers that he had connected with and helped train and helped get into the major organizations. Well, anyway, he's brokering and trying to negotiate a deal on behalf of Goldberg to wrestle a retirement match against Sting, who also has some ideas and suggestions of having a retirement match by the end of this year. There's some rumors that may happen at All In. We'll see if that happens with Sting. But Goldberg's trying to get a retirement match with Sting. probably not a double retirement match, but his retirement match against Sting, of all places, in Jerusalem, Israel. I mean, I'm not even bullshitting on any of this. This is a legit story that is in process. Now, if this gets to a certain point of maybe getting close to reality, I could actually see WWE pulling Goldberg back into their brand and saying, let's do one last match on a WWE show for you. You know, it could be maybe a Saudi Arabia show later in the year. They can pay him big money for it. Who knows? I mean, it would draw. So I think that's what's going to be attractive to WWE at the end of the day is the drawing capacity of the possibility of a last match for Goldberg. And like I said, Sting has another retirement match is on its way for him as well, sometime by the end of the year, but it probably will be at a bigger AEW event. Like I said, All In's been rumored. Could be something else down the road later in the year, maybe near the end of the year, November, December. I think his contract is technically officially up at the end of the year, so that would make sense why he would be doing a retirement match maybe later in the year. My take, I don't want to see these two have a retirement match against each other, that's for sure. I think Goldberg should go back to WWE, get something there. There's a litany of talent that he'd have a good retirement match with. AEW side with Sting, I think you do a big event and maybe at Full Gear for Sting's retirement match. You maybe even do a special in December, maybe the same event that he returned to wrestling at. Winter is coming, AEW Winter is coming. It was a special edition of Dynamite. Maybe you do that again and make it a big network special, and you do that Sting retirement there and get a huge buy rate number possibly. I think for All In, if they're going to do a retirement match, I mean, they got him now signed. What about Nigel McGuinness? Come on. I think that would be so perfect. In London, come on. Why not? That would be the absolute perfect place to do one last match for Nigel McGuinness. All right, that is it for Laying the Rant Down this week. Come on back later. We got Mega Rant Monday, Best of Super Juniors 30, the first 3 nights of all the cruiserweight action you can handle. We're going to talk about it right back here. Wrestling Rants, come on back. After all, we will be dropping that Mega Rant on the Best of Super Juniors 30, so stay tuned right here. Wrestling Rants. Good night.